Sure. Right. And if he was, I mean, if the whole thing is, well, he had sin when he was born, therefore he has blind, well, then to Mike's point, then we would all be born with some kind of situation like that. Go ahead, Mike.
This does really argue against this concept of the world of original sin.
Right. Right. It doesn't fit with that because, again, Jesus doesn't say, well, yeah, this is a problem that occurred in his life because he's done something horrible. In fact, this is what God is going to use. God is going to do something with this. Go ahead, Rudy.
When Jesus was here, everything was prepared for him to show the world what was his doing here and what was the purpose of him being here. So some of the things that were happening along while he was on earth, there were things already, I'm thinking, prepared, and
Sure.
John even talked about it. He was even setting the way before Jesus, was coming behind him. And so there were some things that, that did happen that they're sometimes so difficult to understand, like, what he's saying here is kind of contradicting of what we understand that original sin is,
Sure.
But it's just that there were some things prepared for the way of Christ.
Yeah, there's work that he's going to do. There is work, and if you notice verse 3, he says, "It was not that this man sinned or his parents, but that the works of God might be displayed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day." And so one of the themes that develops in John's account, the things that he records Jesus saying, is if God is doing it, he's doing it through Jesus. And if you're watching Jesus do something, then you're really watching God do it. If he's speaking, it's God speaking. There's this ultimate connection between the two of them. And so Jesus heals this man, and he does it a little differently than normal. He puts some mud on his eyes and has him go and wash, and he comes back seeing. And I wonder if part of that was because Jesus knew what was going to happen next, right? Because the guy comes back, and Jesus is gone, and all of a sudden, there's a bit of an uproar about this miracle. And it goes back to something we talked about last week, right? Jesus did this miracle on the Sabbath day. And they already don't like Jesus doing miracles on the Sabbath day. But I think they probably also took, well, he made mud, right? He did work. And so that also violated their Sabbath day rules, the religious leaders' rules that they had come up with. And so Jesus is now once again in the middle of a contentious debate. Only Jesus isn't the one defending himself. It's this man that he's healed, who sounds like he doesn't know a lot about Jesus. All he knows is what he's already received, which is his sight. And so again, this is a little bit of a different kind of thing. Normally we see Jesus heal someone and we move on from them. We don't read about them again. We don't hear what happens to them. They're just out of the picture. But here we find this man come back, and I want you to listen to just a little bit of it. Verse 13. It says, verse 8. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar were saying, "Is this not the man who used to sit and beg?" Some said, "It is he." Others said, "No, but he is like him." And you think, wait a second. Right? He comes back, and the most logical conclusion for some people is not this is the man that he's been healed. It's just a guy who looks identical to him. That made more sense to them than than this guy coming back with sight, which tells us this is a big deal, right? This is not, people just didn't walk around that were blind for their entire lives and show up one day and they had their sight. This didn't happen. They didn't have an answer for this. But he says, no, this is me. And then they bring him to the Pharisees, verse 13. Now, they brought to the Pharisees the man who had formerly been blind. Now, it was a Sabbath day when Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes. So the Pharisees again asked him how he had received his sight. And he said to them, "He put mud on my eyes, and I washed, and I see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath." But others said, "How can a man who is a sinner do such things?" And there was a division among them. So he returns, right? And what's the reaction he gets? It's a little bit mixed, but what's the reaction? It's a little bit negative, right? One part of it almost has nothing to do with the miracle. It's like, we don't care about that miracle, right? We don't care that this guy is now able to see. This guy's a sinner because he broke our Sabbath rules, right? And these other people, they're not really countering that side of it, but they're thinking, but wait a second, if this guy's a sinner, how did he just do that, right? And that's really what the question is going to be for a lot of people in this time, and especially in this section of John, is, I think this, and Jesus is doing this, and because I think this is wrong, but he's doing this thing that only God could do, I don't know what to do with that. And some people said, well, he's not from God because he broke our rules. Doesn't matter what he's doing, right? He broke our rules. And other people are saying, well, it's kind of hard to say he's demon-possessed or from Satan when he just gave a guy sight that had never been able to see before. And so there's a lot of confusion here, a lot of debate between people on this. And intermixed within all of this is this guy who